Today we're going to paint our tints and shades, and the first thing we're going to do is just warm up our painting skills and how we use our paintbrush and our paint to make nice smooth lines around these shapes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into just my plain color. For my example, I'm using orange, and I make sure that the end of the brush, not all the way up, but the end of the brush is fully dipped into the orange. Now, I don't want it to actually be dripping all over my paper. That would be too much, but as long as I have a nice glob on there, I'm going to be able to paint my picture. So I come over to the circle, and I'm going to take my brush and smoothly and calmly, I'm going to set it down close to the edge of the line. And now it's on the paper. I'm going to go one nice long movement, and I'm taking my time. I'm really keeping my eyes right on my picture, and it's starting to dry out a little. But I'm moving along the edge, so I'm turning it over now and right along where I see that black line. Now if I'm struggling over here, the easiest thing to do is just to turn my paper. And now I set down my paintbrush again and I go around those edges. And I need a little more paint, so I'm dipping again, just front and back, not dripping. Come back to my paper, set it down, and make a nice smooth curve around there. Do the outer edges first, and now I can just paint the middle with nice, smooth, gentle strokes. I'm not scraping the paintbrush, I'm not hurting it or messing with it. And now this one is going to be more straight lines. So I get a little paint, and straight lines can be hard, especially the corners. So let's take our time. My brush is already a little flattened from my first move. I'm going to set it down right next to the edge and pull one smooth line all the way across, and then I'm going to just pick straight up. Over here, it's nice, and over here it's a little open, so I'm going to just turn my paper. And remember, we're doing our straight edges first and then filling in the middle. So now over here, I'm going to set it down and pull across to make my edge over here. Pick it straight up. I'm going to dip and get a little more paint. Can always get more if it starts to look kind of scratchy. And I'm going to do the top line. I set it down at the edge and pull straight across. It's getting a little scratchy, so this is where I'm going to turn over my paintbrush. Make sure I just go back over it anytime you see that. We don't want holes in our painting. We don't want to see the paper underneath. And now I'm going to go straight down. Straight down. One nice smooth move. And now I can just fill in the middle. Still a little dry, so I'm going to get just a little bit more paint. I don't want my picture to be dripping and gooey. I just want it to be a nice smooth painting so that when I pick it up I can tell it's wet, but it's not dripping. There are no big blobs on there. So now I've done just my basic color, just plain orange for my example, and I'm practicing my nice smooth lines. Now we're going to make a tint, and to do that I don't need to rinse out my brush or anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scoop of my orange and put it in a new pile, and take a little bit of white, another scoop of white. I was dipping before, now I'm scooping so I can mix new colors, and I'm going to mix them together over here and see what I get. If you're running out of paint, that means you need to take a bigger scoop to mix with, so maybe that's just one. See how it is a gooey big mess? Well, not a mess yet. And I'm going to take another scoop and put it over here. Now I'm going to go in the orange and take a scoop of the white and mix them together. I'm not scrubbing with my brush, I'm not hurting it, it's just a gentle little spin. My orange should be getting a little lighter because I'm making a tint. When I think my color's pretty even, I can always kind of get the edges evener. When I think it's even, I'm going to come and paint my first one, this kind of blob shape. And again, it's lots of curved lines that I'm practicing how I'm painting. So I set it down on the edge. If I'm over a little bit on this paper, that's fine, but not on like my desk or the table. And now I'm going to smoothly follow the edge, even if this edge is a really big wavy line. Doing the edges first. And I'm going to come down here and try and follow along this bottom edge. And I gotta fix this guy. I like to turn my paintbrush over a lot to make sure that I'm getting all those bits of paint before I dip it back in. And now I'm going to go back and get my tint, not the basic, but that little bit lighter color. Just a little more, and fill in the middle. Now I've got one tint painted. It should be lighter than your original color. Even if it's just a little bit lighter, that's fine. Before I move on to the next one, I'm going to make this tint even lighter. It's still a tint because it's just white and orange, but I can add different amounts of white to make it different shades or values of my color. So now it got way lighter again. So I'm mixing it up. I like to do a method where I push the edges into the middle, and then I'm getting a big glob of paint right in the middle. Now my paintbrush has another tint, and I'm going to paint my triangle. This one's going to be hard because of that fine corner, so I'm going to use just the very edge of it and pull on that straight line and stop before I go out of the lines. Again, I'm turning it because I think that's easier. I set down my paintbrush and I pull to make a nice straight line stop before you get over the edges. Careful, my hand should not go on the paint. I'm just hovering over it. I set it down in that corner and make a smooth line and fill in the middle. Those are our tints. We've got our basics. Now it's time to move on to our shade. Shade is a color plus black. I'm going to kind of wipe off my brush on here. You can wipe it off on your paper towel, something like that, just to kind of clean it out. I'm not going to paint all over this because we can always use it another time. But when I think my paintbrush is pretty empty of paint, I'm going to come back and again, like we did with the white, except this time I'm using black and my color. I'm going to take 2 big scoops of orange. Remember, big scoops means I'm not dipping, I'm taking a scoop of it. Setting it somewhere on my plate, taking a big scoop of it, setting it somewhere on my plate. Somewhere I can mix. Black is stronger than white, so this time I am just going to dip in the black. Not a whole scoop. A scoop's going to make it really, really dark. I'm just going to dip my brush. You can see there's a little bit of black on there. And I'm going to mix it in my orange. Whoa, it's already changing a lot. Push in that middle. And this was just a dip. Imagine if I had used a scoop. Get that color all mixed together. Definitely a shade now. Got it on my brush. And I'm going to come paint the moon shape. This one again has a pointed corner, so I'm going to start right there. Put it down and smoothly move around the edge. And I'm going to move around this edge. And try and stop right in that pointed corner. Finish this side with a smooth line. And I didn't really have to fill anything in. You might have to, but I didn't really need to. So there's my first shade, my first darker orange. And now we're going to change it again to do the diamond. We're going to see what happens if we add even more. So that was one dip. I'm going to take another dip of black on my brush and mix it into this shade color. And wow, it already looks not quite black like this, but it looks really dark. When I think my color is mixed, I am ready to paint the diamond. Set it down here and make a smooth line. Pick it up. Set it down here, smooth, one movement, pick it up. Set it over here, one smooth move, pick it up. I'm going to need a little more paint, so I'm coming here to pick up more paint. And I'm going to go right down the side and fill it in. They're different colors, but they're both shades. Then my whole picture should be done. I'm going to put my paintbrush on my